Two different worlds, two ancient empires. They operate on opposite sides of the globe, guided by completely different codes of honor, violence, and silence. But in the modern criminal underworld, the globe is shrinking. Borders mean nothing when there are billions of dollars on the line. Eventually, the expansion of one empire will violently crash into the territory of another. This is what it's like to rise through the ranks of the Japanese Yakuza and the Italian Cosa Nostra. This is what it takes to survive their worlds, and what happens when those two worlds collide. Only one survives. Level 1, the Initiates. The Yakuza, the Chinpira, nobody told you to drop out of high school, but the choice made itself. You are 18 years old, standing in the neon-soaked alleys of Kabukicho, Tokyo's red light district. You are a Chinpira, a street punk. You wear a cheap, flashy suit, your hair is bleached, and you think you are tough. You are completely disposable. Your job is to stand outside the hostess clubs and illegal gambling dens, handing out flyers and watching the street. You don't make any real money. You survive on the scraps the older men throw at you. Your job is absolute servitude. When a senior member walks into the room, you bow at a perfect 45-degree angle. You light their cigarettes before they even have to ask. You pour their drinks, ensuring the label of the sake bottle is facing perfectly upward. You clean up their vomit when they drink too much. If they tell you to stand in the freezing rain for 10 hours to guard a doorway, you stand in the freezing rain for 10 hours. You are desperate for a family, and they know it. Finally, after 2 years of humiliation, they formally invite you in. You kneel on a tatami mat in a traditional tea house. The Sakazuki ceremony begins. The boss, the Oyabun, pours sake into a cup. You drink from the same cup. In that single swallow of cheap rice wine, you sever all ties with your biological parents. The Oyabun is your father now. The men in the room are your brothers. You endure 200 hours of agonizing pain to get your back tattooed using the traditional Irizumi hand-poked method. You are no longer a citizen of Japan. You are Yakuza. The Sicilian Mafia, the Picciotto. You are 16 years old, living in the blistering heat of a decaying neighborhood in Palermo, Sicily. The government here doesn't exist. The state is just a myth on the television. The real power is the local men who sit outside the cafes, sipping espresso, watching everything. You start by stealing Vespas. You run messages between neighborhoods because phones are wiretapped. You don't ask what the messages mean. You don't ask questions at all. One day you see a local baker get beaten to death in an alley by 3 men. The police come to your house and ask if you saw anything. You look the detective dead in the eyes and tell him you were asleep. You have just proven that you understand Omertà, the sacred code of silence. A week later, you are brought into the back room of a rural farmhouse. 5 older men are sitting at a wooden table. The boss takes your hand. He pricks your trigger finger with a needle. A single drop of your blood is smeared onto a small paper picture of the Virgin Mary. The boss lights the picture on fire and drops it into your cupped hands. As the holy image burns your skin, you recite the oath. May my flesh burn like this saint if I ever betray the Cosa Nostra. You don't flinch. You brush the ashes off your palms. You are a Picciotto, a little boy, but you belong to the entity now. There is no resignation. The only way you leave the Cosa Nostra is in a wooden box. Level 2, the Earners, the Yakuza, the Chatte. You are 25. You are a made man, a Chatte, younger brother. You don't look like a thug anymore. You wear perfectly tailored black suits. You carry business cards. The Yakuza operates in the open in Japan. Your syndicate literally has a corporate office building with a brass nameplate on the front door. Your job is to bring in the yen. You operate in the gray zones of capitalism. You run a Sokaya extortion ring. You buy a few shares in a massive, publicly traded Japanese corporation. This gives you the right to attend their annual shareholder meetings. For months, your men dig up dirt on the CEO, a mistress, a gambling debt, an embezzled fund. You meet with the corporate executives and politely suggest that they buy a ridiculously overpriced piece of art from your gallery. If they don't, you will expose their shame at the shareholder meeting. In Japan, public shame is worse than death. The executives break out in cold sweats. They wire the money the next day. You make $500,000 in a single afternoon without throwing a single punch. You wear a Rolex. You drive a Mercedes. You think you are a legitimate businessman. The Sicilian Mafia. The Soldato. You are 24. You are a Soldato. You don't wear suits. You dress like a regular working-class man to blend in. Your business is not high-level corporate extortion. It is the brutal, microscopic control of the streets. You collect the Pizzo, the protection money. Every butcher, every construction site, every small cafe in your territory must pay the family. It is a tax for existing. You walk into a new restaurant. You don't pull a gun. You just order a coffee and tell the owner that the neighborhood has been having problems with fires lately and he should really buy some insurance. The owner refuses. He thinks he is brave. You nod, finish your coffee, and leave. That night, you and two other soldatos pour gasoline through his mail slot. The restaurant burns to the foundation. The next week, every other business on the street pays double. You make thousands of euros a week in crumpled, untraceable cash. You hide it under the floorboards of your mother's house. You don't buy flash cars because flash attracts the carabinieri. You live quietly, but you carry the absolute power of life and death in your pocket. Level 3, the lieutenants, the Yakuza, the Waka Gashira. You are 35. You manage a crew of 50 men. You control the illegal host clubs, the methamphetamine distribution, and the underground casinos in Roppongi. But you are managing chaos. One of your younger, stupider men gets drunk and attacks a civilian, putting him in a coma. The police are furious. The media is running the story. You have brought shame and unwanted heat to the Oyabun. In the Yakuza, apologies are not spoken. They are paid for in flesh. You kneel in the Oyabun's office. You take a clean white cloth and place your left hand flat on the table. You take a tanto blade. Without hesitating, you drive the blade through the top joint of your left pinky finger. You slice cleanly through the cartilage. The pain is blinding, a white-hot flash that makes you want to vomit, but you do not make a sound. You wrap the severed fingertip in the white silk cloth and present it to the Oyabun with a deep bow. This is Yubitsume. The boss accepts the finger. The debt is settled. The mistake is forgiven. But every time you look at your mutilated hand, you are reminded that your body does not belong to you. It belongs to the clan. The Sicilian Mafia. The Capodecina. You are 38. You are a Capodecina, the head of 10 men. You don't punish your men by cutting off their fingers. If your men make a mistake that brings the police, you kill them. Violence in Sicily is not ceremonial. It is a cold, mechanical necessity. A rival faction within the Cosa Nostra is trying to muscle in on your public works contracts. The Don gives you an order: erase the problem. You don't send hitmen to shoot him in the street. That leaves a body, and a body brings an investigation. You use the Lupara Bianca, the white shotgun. You invite the rival to a neutral farmhouse to negotiate. When he walks through the door, you throw a nylon garrote around his neck from behind. You pull tight. He thrashes, his eyes bulging, suffocating in total silence. It takes 3 agonizing minutes for him to die. Then, you strip the body and drop it into a 50-gallon plastic drum filled with industrial sulfuric acid. You watch the acid boil and hiss as it dissolves the flesh, the bones, the teeth. 3 days later, you pour the toxic sludge down a storm drain. There is no body. There is no crime scene. There is no funeral for his wife to attend. He simply ceased to exist. You go home, wash your hands, and eat dinner with your children. You feel absolutely nothing. Level 4, the global collision. The world is getting smaller. The local territories are bled dry, and the real money is in globalization. As the Yakuza Waka Gashira, your syndicate needs to move massive amounts of precursor chemicals and synthetic drugs into Europe. You need a port. As the Sicilian Capodecina, your family controls the port of Gioia Tauro and Rotterdam. You control the cranes, the dock workers, the customs agents. Nothing enters Europe without your stamp. The sit-down happens in a private dining room of a luxury hotel in Milan. The clash of cultures is immediate. The Yakuza delegation arrives exactly on time. You wear immaculate dark suits. You bow deeply. You present expensive gifts. You lay out a highly structured, mutually beneficial profit-sharing agreement for the transit of synthetic narcotics. You speak in polite, layered metaphors. The Sicilian delegation arrives 15 minutes late. You wear relaxed Italian tailoring. You smile warmly. You order heavy food and wine. You view these Japanese men with extreme suspicion. To the Sicilians, the Yakuza's rigid formalities look like weakness. The Yakuza operate in the open. To the Cosa Nostra, who have survived decades hiding in bunkers from the Italian state, operating in the open is a sign of profound stupidity. The deal is struck. For 6 months, the money flows. Millions of euros are washed through real estate in London and casinos in Macau. But then, greed poisons the well. The Sicilians, viewing the Yakuza as naive tourists, secretly skim 20% off a massive shipment of weapons and claim it was seized by Europol. The Yakuza have informants on the docks. They know it wasn't Europol. To the Yakuza, stealing money is a crime, but lying and breaking an oath is an unforgivable insult to their honor. The Sicilians think the Yakuza will just write it off as the cost of doing business in Europe. They are dead wrong. Level 5. Total War. The Yakuza Retaliation. You are the Yakuza enforcer. The Oyabun gives the order to strike. You fly an execution team to Milan. You don't use local guns. You smuggle in your own. The Sicilians are careless because they feel safe in their home country. You track the Sicilian Capo who brokered the deal to a high-end espresso bar. You walk in wearing a surgical mask and a heavy coat. You pull a suppressed pistol. You shoot his 2 bodyguards in the head before they can even reach for their weapons. You walk up to the Capo, who is frozen in shock, and put 3 bullets directly into his chest. Before you leave, you drop a folded paper origami crane on his bleeding body. It is a symbol of absolute disrespect. You walk out into the Milanese crowd and vanish. It is a precision surgical strike. The Sicilian Retaliation. You are the Cosa Nostra. You don't care about origami. You don't care about honor or precision. You care about absolute, terrifying devastation. The foreigners came into your home and killed a capo. The response must be so horrific that no one ever dares cross you again. You don't hunt down the individual Yakuza shooters. You find out what luxury hotel the Yakuza operators are using as their European base in Rome. You pack a stolen Fiat with 100 kilograms of military-grade C4 explosive and park it outside the hotel lobby. At 2 a.m., you detonate it. The explosion shatters windows for 3 blocks. The front of the hotel collapses. You kill the 4 Yakuza targets, the valet, the receptionist, and 6 innocent tourists. You plunge the street into a hellscape of fire, screaming, and twisted metal. The message is completely clear. We do not fight fair. We do not care about collateral damage. You are playing in our graveyard. Level 4, the global collision. The world is getting smaller. The local territories are bled dry, and the real money is in globalization. As the Yakuza Waka Gashira, your syndicate needs to move massive amounts of precursor chemicals and synthetic drugs into Europe. You need a port. As the Sicilian Capodecina, your family controls the port of Gioia Tauro and Rotterdam. You control the cranes, the dock workers, the customs agents. Nothing enters Europe without your stamp. The sit-down happens in a private dining room of a luxury hotel in Milan. The clash of cultures is immediate. The Yakuza delegation arrives exactly on time. You wear immaculate dark suits. You bow deeply. You present expensive gifts. You lay out a highly structured, mutually beneficial profit-sharing agreement for the transit of synthetic narcotics. You speak in polite, layered metaphors. The Sicilian delegation arrives 15 minutes late. You wear relaxed Italian tailoring. You smile warmly. You order heavy food and wine. You view these Japanese men with extreme suspicion. To the Sicilians, the Yakuza's rigid formalities look like weakness. The Yakuza operate in the open. To the Cosa Nostra, who have survived decades hiding in bunkers from the Italian state, operating in the open is a sign of profound stupidity. The deal is struck. For 6 months, the money flows. Millions of euros are washed through real estate in London and casinos in Macau. But then, greed poisons the well. The Sicilians, viewing the Yakuza as naive tourists, secretly skim 20% off a massive shipment of weapons and claim it was seized by Europol. The Yakuza have informants on the docks. They know it wasn't Europol. To the Yakuza, stealing money is a crime, but lying and breaking an oath is an unforgivable insult to their honor. The Sicilians think the Yakuza will just write it off as the cost of doing business in Europe. They are dead wrong. Level 5. Total War. The Yakuza Retaliation. You are the Yakuza enforcer. The Oyabun gives the order to strike. You fly an execution team to Milan. You don't use local guns, you smuggle in your own. The Sicilians are careless because they feel safe in their home country. You track the Sicilian Capo who brokered the deal to a high-end espresso bar. You walk in wearing a surgical mask and a heavy coat. You pull a suppressed pistol. You shoot his 2 bodyguards in the head before they can even reach for their weapons. You walk up to the Capo, who is frozen in shock, and put 3 bullets directly into his chest. Before you leave, you drop a folded paper origami crane on his bleeding body. It is a symbol of absolute disrespect. You walk out into the Milanese crowd and vanish. It is a precision surgical strike. The Sicilian Retaliation. You are the Cosa Nostra. You don't care about origami. You don't care about honor or precision. You care about absolute, terrifying devastation. The foreigners came into your home and killed a capo. The response must be so horrific that no one ever dares cross you again. You don't hunt down the individual Yakuza shooters. You find out what luxury hotel the Yakuza operators are using as their European base in Rome. You pack a stolen Fiat with 100 kilograms of military-grade C4 explosive and park it outside the hotel lobby. At 2 a.m., you detonate it. The explosion shatters windows for 3 blocks. The front of the hotel collapses. You kill the 4 Yakuza targets, the valet, the receptionist, and 6 innocent tourists. You plunge the street into a hellscape of fire, screaming, and twisted metal. The message is completely clear. We do not fight fair. We do not care about collateral damage. You are playing in our graveyard. Level 6. The Leader's Siege. The Yakuza Oyabun. You are 65 years old. You lead an empire of 10,000 men in Japan, but the war in Europe is destroying you at home. The Italian government shares intelligence with the Japanese police. The Japanese government, desperate to clean up its image, uses this as an excuse to unleash hell on your syndicate. The anti-Yakuza ordinances are tightened to a suffocating grip. Because your organization is legally recognized, the police hold you personally responsible for the murders in Italy. Your bank accounts are frozen. You are legally forbidden from renting an apartment, buying a car, or even opening a cell phone contract in Japan. Your legitimate front companies are raided and dismantled. Your men are abandoning the syndicate because they can no longer feed their families. You are a billionaire on paper, but you can't even buy a bowl of ramen without a frontman. You sit in your heavily guarded compound in Tokyo, realizing that your rigid adherence to honor and open structure is exactly what the state is using to crush you. The Sicilian Capo dei Capi, boss of bosses. You are 70 years old. You are the absolute ruler of the Cosa Nostra, but you live like an animal. You are a latitante, a fugitive. You have been hiding from the Italian police for 20 years. You live in a reinforced concrete bunker buried underneath a sheep farm in Corleone. You haven't seen the ocean in a decade. You don't use phones. You don't use the internet. You command a billion-dollar global empire by writing tiny, encrypted notes on scraps of paper, pizzini, that are couriered across the country by loyal shepherds. The bombing in Rome drew the fury of the entire European Union. The Carabinieri are tearing Sicily apart looking for you. Helicopters circle above your bunker every night, but you hold the line. You order the corrupt dock workers to blockade every single Yakuza shipping container. You bleed their European supply lines totally dry. You are surviving because you are invisible. You control the very soil you are hiding in. Level 7. Only one survives. The war lasts 14 months. It ends not with a dramatic shootout, but with cold, hard economics. The Yakuza realizes the fatal flaw in their strategy. They are fighting an enemy they cannot see. The Cosa Nostra has no office buildings to bomb. They have no visible leadership to assassinate. They are deeply embedded in the blood and soil of southern Italy. Meanwhile, the Yakuza are bleeding out in Tokyo. The police pressure is too immense. The business is failing. The Oyabun makes the agonizing decision. He orders a complete withdrawal from the European market. He swallows his pride, loses face on an international scale, and cuts his losses. To atone for the failure that cost the syndicate billions, the Oyabun steps down. He is effectively exiled, spending the rest of his life as a pariah, stripped of his power, his wealth, and his family. The Yakuza machine survives, but it is crippled, forced to retreat back into the shrinking shadows of Japan's red light districts. The Cosa Nostra wins. They secure the ports, they keep the money, but every victory in this life is a poison chalice. The sheer violence of the car bombs in Rome was too loud. The Italian state launches a massive crackdown. One of your young soldatos is arrested. He is thrown into the 41-bis prison regime. Total sensory deprivation, solitary confinement, no contact with the outside world. He breaks. He breaks the ancient code of Omertà. He becomes a pentito, an informant. He gives the police the location of the bunker. At 4 a.m., the Carabinieri tactical teams blow the heavy steel doors off the underground hideout. You are 70 years old, the boss of bosses, and you are dragged out into the blinding light of the Sicilian morning in handcuffs. You will spend the rest of your natural life in a concrete box, staring at a wall, paying for every drop of blood you spilled to hold on to an empire you can no longer touch. The Yakuza retreated in disgrace. The Sicilian leadership is locked in cages, but the machine never actually stops. The empires don't die with you. The product still flows through the ports. The protection money is still collected. The cycle of greed and violence simply turns the page. Back in Kabukicho, an 18-year-old kid is scrubbing vomit off the street, desperate for a family. Back in Palermo, a 16-year-old kid is stealing a Vespa, watching the police, waiting for his chance to prove he can keep his mouth shut. You traded your freedom, your humanity, and your life for a crown made of dirt. You were untouchable, until you weren't.